Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Carrie Samuels, and I'm here with the wonderful Belinda Davidson. Hello, Belinda.
Hello, Carrie. Nice to speak to you today.
Yes, it's nice. I'm so happy that we're together. Belinda and I, let me tell you a little bit about myself, and she can tell you a little bit about herself, and then why we decided to get together to have this audio seminar. So, my name is Carrie Samuels. I am an intuitive counselor and a happiness coach. And I do a lot of help with people with forecasts, with their numerology and astrology. But one thing that I also do that is my passion is helping people discover what their soul contracts are, meaning what you intended before you were born, how you planned your life, and how your past lives are affecting you now. So that's one of my passions. And Belinda and I are both have a lot of talents in a lot of different areas that seem to complement each other. And so we were talking, and we both have a lot of experience in this area. So Belinda, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself too?
Well, my name's Belinda Davidson, and I've been working as a medical intuitive since I was 19, so the past 17 years now. Oh my goodness. We're getting old, Carrie. We're getting old.
I don't want to hear it. No matter how far we are in this linear time, I'll always be older than you.
I also run a school for modern mystics. It's called School for Modern Mystics, where I teach people how to become psychic and intuitive, learn how to heal themselves and others, and discover their life's purpose. And one of the reasons that Carrie and I wanted to have this discussion today is because we both have a lot of experience, not only in soul purpose stuff, but also in past life stuff. And last time we spoke, Carrie, you and I had this great discussion around how much our past lives influence our present day life, and how we've spent the past, 15 to 20 years relaying people's past lives to them, and why we think it's super important that people understand how their past lives affect their present day lives, but how their past lives also shape and create their life purpose. And this is the discussion that you and I wanted to have today, and we wanted to invite people to come to listen to us talk about these topics, because I think that we have a lot of information and insights that we can share that can make people understand why past lives are important, how they do influence our present day life, and how we can let go of the hurts and pain of our past lives to boldly and brazenly step out and pursue and discover our life's purpose. So, Carrie, would you like to tell me about how you discovered that past lives were true, and how you read past lives when you do readings for people?
Yes, and I also want to preface by saying I'm actually in Belinda's School of the Modern Mystic. So I just needed to say that she's one of my mentors and I love her. So anyway, that's an aside. So I actually have never, in this life, I've never not believed in past lives. So it's always been with me. It's something as a child, I used to think about what life was like before I was born. I was very in touch with my spirit guides when I was a child. Well, we are all very in touch with our spirit guides as children. I continue to be very in touch with my spirit guides throughout my life, even though I didn't understand that's what I was doing, because I was communicating with my spirit guides telepathically. So I thought I was sitting there thinking, when really I was being educated. So I, as a child, used to dream that my spirit guides were opening these big ancient books with me and teaching me from those books. So not only did I realize once I grew up that those were the Akashic records, but they were also teaching me. So I used to sit there and think a lot about what happens on the other side, why we forget our lives when we're born. And I also had very distinct memories of my past lives. And for instance, I am a numerologist now, and I've always had a passion for numbers. And when I was 7, I learned piano and I learned really math at that time. And I remember very distinctly thinking, oh, I remember this in my past life. That's why it's so easy for me to play music now and to learn math. And later on, I discovered that Pythagoras, who is the founder of numerology, had a mystery school where he was also the inventor of musical scales, and so everyone there played music as well. So pretty sure I had a past life with Pythagoras. So it wasn't until I was in my 20s when I realized that I had some psychic abilities and started doing readings for people that I was able to understand that I could do this for other people. So I'm curious to hear how it was for you as well.
What was very different for me, I didn't have any understanding around past lives. I was brought up Christian, quite strictly so, and probably similar to you, Carrie, was brought up in an environment that I hadn't even heard of the concept of reincarnation. I did have dreams about things that I later understood to be past lives, but I had no idea about it at all. And actually, I thought it was all a bit woo-woo. And, you know me, Carrie, I'm just not really into a lot of the spiritual stuff that people are into. And I started when I was 19 as a psychic, and I started off reading in a psychic cafe. I have no idea how I ended up there because it was everything that I dislike about the spiritual field. So, it was just a lot of everyone seemed to have Native American Indians as past lives, and everyone seemed to have impressive past lives, and everyone wanted to be a witch or a wizard or a warlock and wore like long flowing hippie dresses. And I was 19, not cool, not my scene, but I just had to do it. And also I was the oddball, like most of the women that worked at the psychic cafe, they read runes or they did numerology or tarot, and all of those things confused me. I used to sit across a person and just tell them what I saw about them. And these women would talk about past lives, and they were this in a past life, and Cleopatra, and all these impressive things. So for me, I thought, this is just a load of BS. I am not interested. And I knew that I had to do training at this psychic cafe, and I'm glad I did it, but I wasn't at all into it. That changed though when I emigrated to Germany when I was 21. And in the first 9 months of living in Germany, I spontaneously re-experienced my past lives. So I would literally find myself in a past life. And I went through past life after past life. Now, of course, going back to Europe where I'd had a lot of past lives triggered that cellular memory. So up until that time, I had not understood past lives, or actually I hadn't known about them till I was about 17. It all seemed a bit weird and out there for me and didn't really make sense until I started having past lives. And when I started having past lives, I actually didn't realize that I was having past lives. I had no idea what was happening to me. But fortunately, I came across a book called Past Lives, Future Healing by Sylvia Browne. And that book really got me through that time in my life because, I had some past life experiences where I was speaking fluent other languages while it was happening. And my ex-partner was there at the time witnessing this. So that was my awakening to past lives. And what I did, similar to you, is after I'd understood my own past lives, and now that I understood how much they'd shaped my person, from everything to being born psychic, to even having red hair, I was the only redhead in my family, to having difficulties with my father when I was growing up. So much of the way I was not really about my family of origin or even the culture I was born into. It was almost all to do with my past life history. Once I understood that, I understood myself, I understood my talents and abilities, and I also understood how much the past lives shape us. And like you, I then began to read other people's past life histories and to give them the information about their past lives so that they could understand their personal self. So, Carrie, what would really interest me is if you would tell me how you read past lives in other people's, charts or auras. I'm not quite sure what you call it, because you and I have never talked about that. And I will, tell me all about how you do that, and then I'll tell you how I do it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And it's so much fun to hear your process too, because the thing is, psychics, we're all different breeds, right? Like we all have different talents. One of the reasons I'm in your school is because I want to learn how you do things, because it's so complementary. So here's the thing. My guides show me past lives only when it's absolutely relevant. And so this is one thing that I want to emphasize before we talk any further about it, because everyone does want to know their past life, and they want to know, was I a Native American, that kind of thing, and they want to know Cleopatra or whatever. And the thing is, it's not always relevant, because what my guides usually tell me is why a person is in a certain situation based on their karma, which is pretty much accumulation of a lot of their past life patterns. And those past life patterns are emotional habits that are lodged in your subconscious mind. So if you have been a person who, let's say you've had a lot of past lives as a beggar, you're definitely going to have a lot of these self-worth issues lodged in your subconscious mind. So sometimes, oftentimes, my guides will tell me more about what their agreement was in this lifetime based on their patterns. So they'll package it up in a way like, this is your cumulative pattern, and this is why you chose to relive that pattern in this life, so that you will consciously change that pattern and move through it. Because that's how we heal our karma. We heal our karma when we bring the light of consciousness into our subconscious patterns that have been ingrained over thousands of lifetimes or hundreds or one lifetime, however many. It's when we bring that light of consciousness to it, then we can take responsibility for our lives and say, oh, you know, this is why I've experienced that painful situation, is because I had that pattern and now I need to heal it this way. So oftentimes my guides give it to me in the framework of, this is your karma and this is why you chose this situation, and this is how you can move through it by consciously making other choices. And we're going to get to that at the end of this talk on how you can change this energy, right? So sometimes when it just doesn't stick, or for some reason the guides want to bring up something more visceral. Because, like, you know, when you have a dream and it's really lucid, it brings up a lot of emotion. So a lot of times my guides will illuminate a past life for a person so that they can really understand what happened to them, so that they can have a catharsis. It's not always necessary, though, and it's actually rare that they'll give a specific, although they do, but it's only when it's absolutely necessary. Like if there's something that's just so stuck that you need a catharsis. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have seen those videos of that children who have these war memories, and then they go back to the scene of the where they died in their past life during the war, and they'll cry and they'll cry and they cry, and then they don't have to draw pictures of planes get going in flames anymore, right? So sometimes a catharsis is necessary, but sometimes just an awareness is necessary. So it comes in different packages depending on the situation, but most often it comes in the form of, this is why you chose your life circumstances based on a cumulative situation, and this is how you can move through it. So I'm curious about you. How does it go for you?
Well, I think you've made a great point, and this is the only reason why I bother reading people's past lives, is because it's all about the now. You know, yeah. Eckhart Tolle says that if you delve into the past, it's an endless cycle of pain and suffering and wanting to understand more about yourself. And the only reason to read the past is to help someone understand how they're subconsciously programmed, so that they can move away from life-depleting belief systems into life-affirming ones. So in that way, Carrie, you and I work identically. You also made a comment about psychics are all different, and I'm different in that I don't work with guides. So you talk about getting your information from guides. I get my information from looking at a person. Now, that may come through the guides, but I've never worked with guides. I work with soul essences, which one could say are guides, and soul essences are your 12 unique soul energies that you download in Chakra 8, and I sometimes refer to them as guides. But just to make that distinction, because you said all psychics work differently, and I do. So the reason that I read people's past lives is I want them to understand why they are the way they are. And I've learned over the years that if I can relay a few of the important past lives to people, and like you, I only look at the ones that are about the here and now. There's no point in looking at the past lives that have nothing to do with the person's present situation. If I can relay that information, they get it. They say, oh, now I understand why I've been so frightened of losing my husband, or now I understand why I can't let go of my 15-year-old son because I lost him in a past life. It makes people understand themselves. And when people can understand themselves, they accept themselves. And acceptance is the first step in the healing process. Because if we can accept our situation, we can go on to heal it. So what I do is I look inside a person, and when I look inside a person, I see their many past lives, and then I laser in on the past lives, and I look at them as if I'm looking at a movie, and then I just relay the important parts of the information. And sometimes I talk about one past life, but I'm actually really mostly talking about the patterns, because it's all about the patterns, and it's all about understanding the subconscious patterns. And from there, the people can then go on to understand themselves and begin to change their lives and begin to discover their life's purpose. So you and I do the same thing.
Yeah, isn't that great? It's different techniques. And the other thing about spirit guides is I work with a very different type of spirit guide than a lot of other psychics. We're all so different. People, in this unusual realm of being psychic, there's still so many varieties. Like, for instance, I'm not a medium in the sense that I don't usually talk to departed loved ones. On rare occasions, they'll come up. And then there's a lot of there's a lot of psychics who focus very much on the future. I am like you, I'm very much focused on the now, which was one of the reasons I resonated with you so strongly when I first came in contact with you, because you are very grounded and you do focus on present moment awareness and being present as the most powerful way to shape your future. And I completely am in alignment with that. So the other thing that I want to mention about this is that, well, again, it's probably good not to know your past lives. There's a reason we forget them, because we don't want to be in training to that energy over and over and over again. We do have all of our past life patterns in our subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is what attracts your life to you, right? So you can do this by cleansing your chakras and working with your chakras, which is why I think that's such a powerful and easy way to heal your life, because this energy is causing blockages in your chakras. And if you can clear your chakras to get them working healthily, you don't need to go through all this psychological stuff all the time. But a lot of times, like you're saying, the awareness is very important, because we do have these fears that seem irrational, and your conscious mind can tell you, oh, don't be afraid, everything's going to be okay. But if you have like these incredibly painful past life memories and you don't know where they come from, your conscious mind cannot penetrate your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind will continue to try to protect you. And for instance, one of the more common times when past life memories come up that my guides want to illuminate for people is, there's some women say that can't get pregnant in this life, and oftentimes it will be a block from having died in childbirth in their previous life, or having their children die during their childbirth in their previous life. And I work with guides to help clear. Once these are discovered, I also work with some healing guides that help heal that energy as well. And so when people realize that, something shifts for them, because it's no longer lodged in your subconscious as an irrational fear that you just try to stuff away. Sometimes it's as simple as letting people know, and then all of a sudden it's out in your conscious mind, and women have gotten pregnant after that. So there's a lot of times when it's just as simple as saying, this is what happened and this is why you're afraid. And it's not going to happen this time. You're going to be okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember numerous situations as you're talking. And one in particular, I remember a man came for a reading, and that was in the day that I still gave readings in person. I've been working via Skype and the telephone for the past 10 years. And he sat opposite me, and the first thing I told him about his fear of water. And he had grown up nowhere near water. He'd grown up in Switzerland, but not near water at all, and had moved to an island in Holland surrounded by water. And he just couldn't survive. He just needed to hear that. And
Yeah.
like you, when people come to me, they don't tell me anything about them, I tell them. But it changed him. He was then able to let go of his irrational fear. And he didn't even do anything to change the fear. It was just the acceptance of, well, of course I'm frightened of water because I've drowned in my past lives. It just brings that acceptance. It then starts us healing because we're accepting these things about ourselves. And like I said before, that's really the springboard to healing, is acceptance and understanding. So I agree with you completely, Carrie. We don't need to dig up the past in our past lives. And you know what I advocate, because I always talk about the chakras, because I happen to think it's the most powerful way of changing our energy. When we start working on our chakras and working with the white light and cleaning up our energy fields, we let go of karma. We can heal it. Deepak Chopra says that there are a couple of ways to clear karma, but two of the most prominent ways is either we go through our karma and relive it time and time again until we've had enough of it, or we relive our past lives to understand what had happened, or we meditate, and through meditation we wash away our past karma. It's like putting a dirty, like a dirty towel in the stream, and the stream is the meditation and it cleans up the dirt. So you and I both advocate go for the meditation because it's the most direct way. And
it's easier because you don't have to go through it. You don't. Basically, anything that's in your subconscious, anything that you've ever experienced in any life, this life or past life, is a subconscious pattern, and that's the energy that allows your chakras to flow or get restricted. And if you do, and I do find your meditation to be it's the best I've experienced, which is why I do it every day. And so I'm with you. Let it be easy.
Yeah. And what can happen in the process is you can spontaneously remember things about your past lives. And if you do, it means it's important for your understanding and knowledge. We don't have to do it the way that it happened to me. I mean, I started working on myself and was thrust into my past lives and re-experienced life after life, which was at times quite traumatic. Now, I understand that was my learning journey because although I'm in the spiritual field, as you know, I'm quite skeptical. So I really needed my past life to kind of hit me over the head with a bat, to say that they're real, because I wouldn't have believed it if it didn't happen to me. But most people don't have to go through that. They don't have to go through past life trauma or past life regression. Really, if you need to understand your past lives to better your life, to be more joyful and to help you discover and live your life's purpose, you will experience it as you're working on your chakras. And if it doesn't happen, then good. You don't have to go through it.